tradition of singing these songs in Madison County that was unlike any other place in the country. And that there was a community of singers there that could trace that unbroken chain back 8 generations. And I was like, I gotta figure out how to be friends with these people. And I didn't know how this was gonna happen. And I'm gonna tell you the story of how it happened because I think it's important and it brings a lot of this kind of together for me and hopefully for you. So, I bought this jail, turned it into a restaurant, and for me, that space is really a social practice art experiment. That's what it is. The whole thing is a sculpture. It's not really a restaurant. That's just a front for this weird art piece that I'm doing in my brain. And what it was like, create a space and then see what happens. Fill it with things, and you don't know what those things are, but it's not random. Anyways, one day I was at my restaurant and Melanie Rice, who I knew who Melanie was, and Donna Ray.
I didn't know who he was from nobody.
I'm going to dispute that, but it's a small town. Everyone knows who everyone else is. But anyways, they were having lunch, and I went up and I said, I'm Josh Copus, and they said, yeah, we know who you are. And I said, well, I know who you are, and I want to be your friend.
That's okay.
That's my version. They can tell a different one.
He totally fangirled over us.
It's true. I knew it was important. And but I also was very honest and genuine, and that's how I try to be in my life. And the hotel component of my building is just for the guests, so you have to pay money to stay there, and you can't really even go upstairs unless you're invited by the owner. And so I said, have y'all been upstairs? And they said no, and we went on a tour. Anyways, one of the things that I did with that project was create this living history museum. And so the whole thing is a museum, but it's not about the past. It's about honoring the past and acknowledging it, but the whole thing's really about contemporary relevancy in the future. So I have all this stuff displayed, and we're moving through the space, and I brought this here to give you a visual aid. This is the most famous sheriff in Madison County's history is named Elmas Yates Ponder, and he was the sheriff, EY is what they called him. He was the sheriff for 32 years. These are documents that one of his people, and this gets to something. So when I bought this building at a property auction from the county, people were like, you're crazy. And I was like, I know. That's why I'm going to pull this off. But I also knew that it wasn't just like a building. It was like, it's a jail, but it'll surprise you. And like being Appalachian, like I knew that there was a story there. And I was like, we just have to figure out what it is. So this woman in my community watched me for 5 years. And called me on the phone one day, and I don't mean watch from afar, like she checked up on me to make sure I was doing a good job. She called on the phone and she said, it's time to come to the house. And she was like, I have EY's papers, and I want to give them to you. And I cried. I mean, of all the things that were successful about that project, that person trusting me, that trust building activity that we actively engaged on for 5 years is the thing that I point to as the greatest success of the Old Marshall Jail project. That's it. Anyways, these are, thanks. That's real, man. And Appalachian people are skeptical of people who come in, and for good reason, man. I want to talk to me in a year. Let's see, I want to know that your heart's in the right place. And these are EY's field notebooks. And so we're walking through the building, and when I created these shadow boxes, I don't really know what these things are about necessarily, but they're hard to read. And this one, I just picked it for aesthetics, or the energy. I don't know why. I mean, I do know. I was drawn to it. I chose to display that page, not knowing what the context was. Donna Ray walks into the building and she says, "This one's about my dad."
That's another story.
That's another story. But the thing that I'm trying to get to is that this isn't ancient history. I mean, it goes back, but it's living. It's alive. And that's what we're trying to do now. The history of the jail is not ancient. It's living. It's alive. These people are part of our community still. And this stuff, like, one of the things that I think a lot about is, like, this isn't ye old ballad sing kind of thing. Like, this isn't a museum. This is a living thing that we have to foster and nurture and pass on.
Amen.
And so Sheila K. Adams has been the leader of that. And, you know, we have to get out in the world and share it with the people. So